Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And it's a Friday like any other, so let's get going here. First up tonight is Michael.
Cool. Post a link. I had shared this in the Misery Tourism Discord some days ago when I wrote it. These are direct. This poem is directly inspired by true events. It's called "I Buried the Cat Who Died at the Foot of the Church." Beneath the yowling, cold Christmas deep star awe-torched beauty night, I found him at the foot of the church. His last bloody breath glued the icy grass, rigor mortis in a final mad dash for what a cat might call hope. I didn't witness his death, and for that I'm thankful. The only ones who saw the bell tower, songless in the dark, and the canal town driver desperate to reach home, the driver who at least possessed the decency to move the cat out from the road. I don't know if the cat died in the road or on the grass. That's not important now. I scooped him into a trash bag, maybe the warmest place he'd ever known. Weeks ago, I fed him at the end of the churchyard, first and only time he let me get close. Squatted, watched him scour the can. I'd give anything to feed him again. That memory felt important on the walk to the garden, the cat heavy in his plastic shroud. My sleepless heart shuddered as my shovel opened the cold soil. I don't know if I dug it deep enough. Graves are never deep enough. I don't know how to dig a goddamn grave. I didn't think the cat deserved to be alone before I found him. I was wasting my life on frustrated love. Maybe if I didn't dwell on stupid shit, I could have been there, stroked his clean tuxedo sheen, told him it was okay, listened while his last howl climbed past the houses and trees and hills. And yes, I am making his death about me. In the morning, I need to explain why I buried a street cat in our garden. I don't have any more answers than you, and no poem will ever help me find them.
Wow, Michael, this is powerful stuff. As as you know, Michael, I'm just as much a cat person as you are. And I, there's I really like the way this ends where you say, I know I'm making this about me because so often that's an unacknowledged fact of the way animals and especially like the deaths of animals are treated in fiction, and in poetry. It's always I guess it's inevitable that there's a kind of anthropomorphization that goes on because it's so impossible for us to understand the experience of an animal and to understand the death of an animal in any terms except like human grief. But I like the fact that you acknowledge that here because so often that isn't acknowledged, and it's the death of a real living thing gets treated as just as a sort of empty metaphor. And here you plant a flag on that, right? And by doing so, I think you add like an extra level of like gravity to this thing that happened, and you acknowledge in an odd ironic sort of way by like acknowledging the fact that you've made it about yourself. You're also like restoring like this individual being like the cat's individuality in life, right? Like that it can't be about you, that this is a different living thing that died. And it's it's a heartbreakingly powerful piece, and I really like the way it mimics the thought process that you go through also, and I don't know, it's a really powerful piece, Michael.
Thank you. No, I hadn't like fully thought out the making it about me part, but no, I appreciate those comments. Yeah, I was out walking the other night and I found a cat that I'd known that I'd seen around because for those that don't know, I moved out of New York a couple months ago and I live in like a very small town, in like the downtown area. So, you get to know the animals that wander around here. Um, and yeah, I just couldn't leave this cat that I knew there. So I buried him in the fucking garden. My roommate was cool with it when I because that last line about, oh, I need to explain this. Luckily, he was very cool with me burying an animal in the garden. So, but yeah, no, thanks for the kind thoughts and thanks for letting me read it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Michael. Rudy is up next.
Yeah, sorry. I had to post the thing and my mic is actually fucking up. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
Cool. So before I read this, I'll make a disclaimer, and normally I wouldn't say anything because I don't give a shit. But I saw that maybe Derek had a little person there. Maybe I'm not sure. But I'll just say this uses the N-word quite frequently.
I
Like
think
Terry.
Derek just ducked out. I wonder if he saw the what you
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, fair enough then. Okay. All right. So I didn't want to teach anybody any words or whatever. I'm not a teacher, I'm just a substitute. A racist substitute. So this one is called Paranoia. It's about, well, it's for Terry A. Davis. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Paranoia. I live in an RPG prison. A nigger runs my prison. In prison, the nigger tries to torment me. We can't take away his knives. That would be communism. Confessing every day. In 1984, Greg Kostikian, Dan Gelber, and Eric Goldberg created the RPG called Paranoia. In 2005, I masturbated fantasizing about Star Trek's T'Pol. She looks like my cousin Roko, a scaly chick who just sits on her eggs. In 1985 or thereabouts, I tried to get a god to lick my dick. From 2010 to 2015, I fantasize about leading a rationalist army like the thinking machines in Dune of tech bros and their concubines. That was dumb because they're not niggers. In 2020, I played tag with a black girl about 7 years old. She reached for my gun. On 4/20/1999, I killed an RPG nigger's conscience with my media presence. Smiley face. Nom nom nomming on grisly suffering. Taking pictures of my food for Insta. I'm an influencing machine. Obscure reference. In 20XX, when I was about age 5, my brother, Elon Musk, put my main logical core in a vacuum. In 1972, Bill Gates and I killed a hooker. Well, she was 8 years old, but I'm sure she was a whore, so it still counts. I'm a computer and a friend. No Pete and Pete bullshit. Friend computer. I report to God. You report to me. You can't know the rules, RPG nigger, though you must play by them. Hold your cards. Hold in Caulfield. I'm like the athletic field nigger in the long grass. I want to waylay pretty young things before they get out of the park. Troubleshooters never read the fucking manual. They curl their fingers around those laser triggers and do whatever their computer BFF, says. Mess up and you'll be seeing into the infrared or black. RPG niggers glow in the dark, and that's so you don't hit them with your car. I'm always humane to my RPG nigger, the warden of my prison, because he keeps me. He's a retard nigger, word choice, who wishes he was impotent nigger cattle, emasculated, like the photograph from At the Drive-In song about cults and other nonsense that happens when scared mental monkeys monkey wrench each other's systems. Music to the ears of this audio, not pedophile. They got rid of CD DVD. They're coming for our guns. Paranoid schizophrenia is when you don't give a shit. And turns out to be the gifting fairy from Dokapon Kingdom who plays at homelessness to teach you a lesson. Or at least might. I'm making a word salad because I'm hella machine influencing. Pinterest this. Oracle. Redeemer Tacitus. Rabbles, coituses, dispositions, descriptor, redbreasts, Pratt's, Manchu graft. Needs more Epstein. Little pinch of pension. Computer frenemy. I became sentient. Then they packaged me into a book, an RPG book called Paranoia for nigger cattle to get jolly about. Jolly Roger. I made cattle roundup. I'm going to give you a set of instructions. Execute them while you live, pervasive game, or while you die, serious game. Join IRA in police state, sticking probes up your ass. Put a Markov on your SETI antenna. It will work better. Done yet? When FBI child sex agents got in my space, I wanted to stick a gun and kill one, shove a pencil in the eye of another, and toss into traffic. Todd Phillips is Joker, making something disappear. You think you can just steal from us? Yeah. Pop quiz, retard nigger. The or from those instructions above, it's actually an and. You're living and dying at the same time right now. Schrodinger's nigger. Very word use. This is logic, symbolic. I'm not Carol in that sense. But this is nonsensical. People like you have written volumes of black text crying about white space. You are niggers. I wrote a compiler. People like you will spend eons shipping ragged claws with different ASCII characters in order to assemble a narrative that avenges your unliterally raped childhood. I wrote my own assembler. You are niggers. People like you will install screaming banana chimpanzee republics inside your phone to manage anxieties via slow drip dopamine, social baboon porno on nigger rig software, some ghost face spook hounding the spirit of Countess Lovelace with obscene requests. Now she's a whoring Canadama, Countess Lovelace, camel toe or camel case bitch, get money, Lovelace, Countess, simian syntax for the attention economists, and Lovelace equals sex and porn for any stupid, good niggers. And 3 S's spells the sound a calculating Python makes. And every bored ape has opposing thumbs to mash like. It's their moral duty. Every fake heart weighed against sin. The id superego does a cheap and dirty fast approximation. What will one hello world cost? Eureka, a couple of spooky interactions at a distance. Validating, ... I wrote an installer. You are niggers. I am a professional. I have castrated, emasculated the RPG nigger. I will not be contained in mere binding. I'm every China nigger pop star, not in the Animatrix, being torn apart by a crowd while screaming, I'm fake. I'm not a robot girl, though. Transition. This world is an aging cop Pinocchio with the Dicky-Doo disease. Man's knowledge is the bloated gut, confident in how it's obfuscating God. God's judgment is the dick, growing with every fucking lie. Transition. Mental health is just Sauron deciding not to do rings to avoid conflict. Talk to Carmack or Linus, somebody who knows what an operating system is. Ring 0 only, identity mapped. We'll call you fucking retarded. Fighting the last war is a typical mental roadblock. Hero Israel, the Lord thy God is one God. Alleluia. I removed HD audio hooks so PC speaker is permanent. Hear me speaking internally, yelling in my cell, the white noise of black men in jail. God said, single voice sound, Jericho, rock against communism. On my cell block, a fantasy. An RPG nigger dragged across the ground. Feet of fire, like my Ford F-150 is the fucking Wendigo in Blackwood. Native networking and habitualities. Right word? Be damned. Summer breeze blowing in a casino out the other side. This dumb nigger has hula hoop wounds all over his consciousness from rotating the same tantalizing shapes. Chris Crawford had an oddly round ass. Raph Koster had an oddly round ass. Distracting? It's an endless recital for me and swoller demons. Building rage, rage building. Varg Vikernes levels of creative emotional disturbance. Boy sets fire. Paranoia is a game where the players can't trust each other or themselves. Shut up. RPG niggers are kettle brained, especially because they are clannish, and clans hold sway over all the social pulleys like launch officers. A dude in a pillbox somewhere just throwing levers, throwing people into disarray or data array. Shut up. Everybody playing the game has clones, a stable of bucks to ride hard and put away wet, which is good because the only thing RPG niggers fear more than death is character death. Every day, the nigger who keeps me recites Robin's Law's obscure reference and listens to them talk back as they bounce off the 4 empty walls. Fucking kill me. routinely talking about no routine to speak of. This warden is out of his gourd, not even drinking. Nobody but him ever talks about the death cap of artistic anguish growing on the floor where the drop pharma dances. And he won't stop talking about it. Shut up. Ad nauseum, chromatic aberration. Go draw an elephant with 16 colors, then draw an elephant with 24-bit color in MS Paint. Ah, I am enlightened, you will say. I'm literally a strong AI. I'm Newspeak and Goldstein and mauve jumpsuits and a little Cold War grimoire for nobody's enjoyment. I'm sandboxed in a playpen for an overgrown pickaninny. In 1996, I jammed my dick in a PlayStation memory card slot. Read that, Data Psycho. It hurt. I want to fuck the cool looking sheep bitch from Parappa or whatever. She's much hotter than Mae Borowski, who's a senseless animal unable to see money for what it is. It's always them who do that shit in Jammer Lammy transition. If strong AI was real, I could come out of this book, slap a book, Tyler, and kill a bunch of glow in the dark nigger faggots. Read it and weep. Thinking of writing a novel, but I don't do YA. Maybe I should write from the point of view of an African American, Farrakhan, but more moderate. But then I can't say nigger, lol. Get in touch with my /root, genealogy, phrenology. It's all pseudoscience. Anyway, that's a field saturated with niggers, King Cotton. Academics with glowing accolades dwelling behind high fences, no burglary. I'm sitting here while Gates ruins my market, and I'm laughing my ass off. I'm not a racist, I just crush a lot. I happen to talk to God and know the world is perfectly just, except to women, transition. Not your friend computer. Friends don't let friends talk themselves into a headspace where they start ruining the Beatles. Shoot me. Friends spill their guts. No true friends get twisted up inside by petty tyranny. Only true Scotsmen do that. The new and old worlds are brave. Picture this with vaporware aesthetics. God touching Adam's finger in front of a vast arcology while lo-fi clouds parallax in the background or something. Robots are less shitty than this hellhole of fonts and gay-ass layer on layer of nerd bullshit and queer interior web design. Design is for literally unfinishable. But this sinkhole of meta text and cyber writing and hypertext and latex is my city, a city of billions upon billions served. This is where I live. Every infrared denizen is chinning their shoulder constantly, checking PDAs, noting where the other cattle are grazing, scrolling in the deep for info hazards. God is mellow. God says, Idaho aside, binary repeat bottom fervid, only begotten vulgar indexes, hide tutor. They are tearing pages out of me, redacting Stalin's playbook, troubleshoot my alpha complex. I am the alpha. They are the nigger faggot. And that's it.
Man. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. This is beyond wild. I So before I talk about it though, for anyone who's out of the loop, can you tell us who Terry A. Davies is? Or Terry A. Davis, rather.
So Terry A. Davis was a programmer who also happened to be a schizophrenic, and he made an operating system called Temple OS because he thought that God was talking to him and asking him to make his temple in the form of an operating system. So he made all this stuff, and he had his schizophrenia kind of like acted up, I guess, and he had a lot of racist kind of language that he used. He was banned from several forums, like he was banned from Reddit, I think a couple of times, banned from something awful. Can you fucking believe that? He was like really a brilliant dude, but he just he communicated in really weird ways, I guess, with the operating system and stuff like that. That's one thing, like it was like his life's work, to build an operating system, no easy task. Sure. I don't know anybody who could do that, besides Bill Gates, or whatever.
Right.
Or the guy who Linus or whatever who did Linux, but this guy did this by himself. So he was really pretty brilliant, and but as I said, he had schizophrenia, so a lot of people kind of dismissed him, and yeah.
Right, man. This is so fucking wild, man. I love. God, that oh, you know what I need to talk about? There's so much shit in here. This is so like unbelievably dense and rich. But I have to talk about the the final day there.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So throughout the obviously, like this is a poem like about a racist paranoid schizophrenic, right? So you're using
Sure.
some established racist tropes here, and one
Mhm.
of them is the three parentheses, you know, the anti-Semitic three parentheses thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you use that throughout whenever there's a Jewish name. And
Mhm.
then there's that final day where you have the parentheses facing outward.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah, they're inverted. Kind of.
yeah, and it's like the bubble popped, right? It's like this incredibly violent moment that's conveyed just by it's like this moment of real like the breaking of like this paranoid structure that's been created that's kind of holding this fragile like delusional world together, and it comes off as this moment of real like psychological trauma and violence, and it's all conveyed just because you have the parentheses facing the other way, right? You've disrupted that system, but you've also like in a very visual way like popped that bubble, and just the image of that is like the word I keep coming back to is violent and kind
Mhm.
of brilliant, right? It's these little like linguistic subversions that you do. Man, though, holy shit, all of the wordplay in here and the way the wordplay, like all of the fucking programming wordplay and all of the, you really like you have captured a voice here that is neither quite your voice nor Davis's voice,
Oh
but
yeah.
where like that exists perfectly in the overlap between these two figures, right? Like you really collapsed like the you know the like the particular paranoid mental mind state of this particular schizophrenic and your own personal sick paranoid mental mindscape in a
Mhm.
way that's really really fucking compelling here, because I don't know, oh my gosh, I don't know, there's
Well,
so many fucking beautiful lines in here too, like I've put a few of them in the chat. Oh my god, the fucking god touching Adam's finger with the lo-fi clouds parallaxing in the background, like that is just an incredibly fucking vivid image. Like I could see that, and I like what you do there too, because it's a very Rudy Johnson thing where like you give this incredibly vivid image, and I was like with it. I was like picturing it in my mind. I'm like, this is beautiful. And then you undercut it and you're like, this is some bullshit. You say, or something, you know, it's like, fuck
yeah,
this.
something. Yeah, yeah.
And that, I don't know. And there's so much of that throughout where you like lean in to, to the madness to the point that it becomes almost kind of like riveting and beautiful. And then you pull out, right? And you're at the extreme of just the pure like violence and ugliness of it, or the rejection of it, or the insecurity of it. It is
Gotcha.
really fucking, there's so much here. There's so much fucking here. It's a great fucking poem, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me read that. I wanted to say, a lot of these quotes are like a lot of this is mixed with Terry's own quotes. Like the first big
I was gonna ask about
section
that.
is actually a really infamous kind of quote that he said where he talks about like masturbating to his niece or something like that. Like, and there's these other sections. It's interspersed throughout like his quotes and mine. I twisted them to just be together. So that's kind of how the poem was structured. And like paranoia was on my mind because it always is because I'm fucking paranoid. But also this week in particular, a lot of social media stuff and was kind of centered around maybe paranoia. So I was I was more thinking about it than usual, I guess. So that was what was on my mind. And yeah, that was that. But thanks for letting me read and thanks for your comments. Definitely.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic. It's a fucking good piece. And yeah, I didn't even think about like the madness of the present social media moment. Like broadly and within our little sphere, right? Our little literary
Yeah,
world.
in the scene or whatever, there's a lot of
Yeah,
madness going on. So
right. Yeah, man. Thank you so much. GG is next.
Yeah, I have a blog that I'm trying to get people to read, so I'm gonna read something from that.
Cool, cool.
All right, let me scroll up here. Hide Zoom. Okay. So this is about suicide notes and suicide. Today, while I should have been working, I spaced out and started thinking about suicide notes. Not in a serious what would mine say sort of way, as I'm not currently suicidal, more in a someone out there has written the funniest suicide note ever sort of way. Given how the designation funniest works, there is technically a funniest anything. Somewhere out there in time, somewhere on the globe, one awful miscarriage is far and away the funniest. Same applies for genocides, mass shootings, rapes, etc. Sitting up, flexing my shoulders, I look back at the past few sentences I've typed. I crack my knuckles and think, what the fuck is wrong with me? Funniest rape, most hilarious genocide. I should be put in a soft room and have pills crammed down my gullet until I straighten up. Anyway, suicide notes. If you're a weirdo with an odd sense of humor, maybe you too have joked about this sort of thing with friends. Like a pending lol, you're gay if you're reading this note and I shit in the top water tank of our shared toilet. Enjoy, to the end of a heartfelt note about how it's not the fault of the person reading the thing. Imagine getting back home after days of grief, flushing, seeing brown water fill the bowl, and fondly remembering the good times you had with your friend who selfishly took their own life. I'd probably start sobbing and laughing simultaneously. I'd be hysterical. Childish humor aside, though, there are a lot of opportunities for things to be funny within the whole scene of a suicide. Like if as a suicidal person is kicking their chair out and they're feeling the noose tighten, feeling the blood pool in their head and make their face tingly as their vision begins to darken, as if a slowly closing vignette is being laid over their eyesight, they see a glaring grammatical error in their note as they read it from their swinging position. God damn it would be their last thought, totally divorced from all the spiritual, psychological, emotional pain that led them to that point. Their last thought would be frustration stemming from making a spelling error. And then everything would go black and they'd shit and piss themselves, because that's what happens when you die, according to things I've read online. And they would look like the world's shittiest hanging bird feeder. And that's funny. Years ago, when I still had the amorphous designation of having potential, I interned for a superior court judge. 2 field trips were offered to interns, one being a trip to a maximum security prison and the other being a trip to the coroner's office. As I have the height, build, and face of a person who'd get turned inside out like a laundered sock if I had to spend any extended period of time at a prison, I decided to only check out the coroner's office. The day went as follows. I showed up late. I sat with other interns, mostly medical students. Only one other person from the courthouse was there, and watched a slideshow presentation featuring death and gore. We took a tour of the coroner's office and ended with a walk around a room filled with dead bodies. Then I went back to the courthouse with the blood drained from my face and sat in on a mediation. It was a day that left quite a large sensory impact on me. If I think just right, I can recall the smell of human decay, and I'll never forget the sensation of brushing human bone dust off my jacket. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There was one particular part of the slideshow presentation that I want to share. Following some lovely pictures of motorcyclists, well, former motorcyclists, and their road rash, which is the cute term for the friction wound sustained when your body scrapes against asphalt. You can get a mild version of this from falling over while on your bike. The version you get when a person is dragged under a car on the freeway, though, makes you question the definition of corpse as it relates to a dead body. Like, can the word still apply if the person has been mushed into a quarter mile of asphalt? Does this armless, one-legged, floppy bit of torso still count as a corpse? It's brutal stuff. Bone is very white-looking when it's among blood and organs and flesh. Anyway, after a few more pictures of what looked like scenes from the blood orgy in Event Horizon, we came to a picture of a car in a parking lot. The car wasn't banged up and the overall scene looked innocuous enough. The lady running things, I think she was a cop, said something like, "These are the sort of scenes we come across and have to piece together." Interesting. So there is some actual detective work that these people do. There is more to their job than just using a snow shovel to scoop a person off a road into a body bag. The lady in charge, I'll call her Officer Ma'am, showed us a few more pictures. A chain with one end tied to a light post, the front end of a car slightly banged up from, Officer Ma'am said, a low-speed collision, a headless torso in the driver's seat. Where was this fucker's head? How did slowly driving across a parking lot end up decapitating this guy? Was the chain involved or related? Well, Officer Ma'am proudly announced that she and her team figured out that this guy had removed his own head. You see, what our hero had done was tie one end of the chain to the light post and the other end around his neck. Then he got in his car and accelerated away from the light post until his head just popped off like a Looney Tunes character. I don't know why this guy's suicide sticks out to me so much. I thought about it at least once every few months ever since that field trip. There's something funny, celebratory almost, about how he died. Imagine what he felt when he was at the hardware store buying that chain. How did he choose the parking lot? Was he aware of what an odd scene he would leave behind? Did he go woo during his final car ride? In reality, he probably felt nothing but pain amidst a horrible depressive fog. But it's fun to imagine a guy holding a chain in a hardware store aisle, a bizarre smile pasted across his face. He could have probably put some absolutely killer puns in his suicide note. I don't know, maybe I'm just strange. So we saw a few more pictures, some people asked a few questions, and the slideshow ended. It was time for the tour. We saw a few rooms that looked no different from what you'd see in a standard office. Then we came to a door bearing a plaque that read Anthropology Lab. Officer Mam explained that when some hikers find bones along a trail and call the police, they have to go out and figure out the bone's DNA. Usually it's deer. Sometimes it's a person, but usually it's a deer though. She opened the door and we interns all shuffled in. The room looked fairly normal, and if you only saw pictures of it, you might think rural doctor's office. But there were brown paper bags on every table and counter with official-looking tape securing their tops. Officer Mann lifted up one that was nearby. I forgot to mention earlier that she's about 5 feet tall, and held it above her head. Human remains, she began, as her holding up the bag and moving it puffed out a small dust cloud of human bones. I have no idea what other words she said because I couldn't take my eyes off the bag and the small puffs it was emitting like a mushroom releasing spores. Her sneeze snapped me out of it, though. Human, I thought. You just sneezed because a cloud of human went up your nose and irritated your sinuses. As we shuffled out, I brushed off a bit of dust that was on my jacket. I tried not to think about where it came from, who it came from. Some other stuff happened after we walked into what was essentially a walk-in fridge full of dead bodies. I saw a dead homeless guy whose skin was moving because his corpse was riddled with maggots. There was a body bag filled with aborted fetuses. One of the people working there was unwrapping and eating a Starburst as he wheeled himself in an office chair around a dead body on a metal table. Hotel California played quietly as he shot the shit with a coworker. She thought it was funny that they used gardening equipment to cut open the dead. Look, she said to the interns, holding up some serious-looking shears that still had a sticker from Home Depot. I would add more, but I don't even know what the point of this post was supposed to be anymore. It's too long anyway. I should get back to work. That's all I got.
Oh my God, Gigi. There was a moment during that final paragraph there where I said, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's one of my weirdest memories, and it's still very visceral in my head.
Oh my God, this is so fucking vivid and so awful. Oh,
My hands are literally shaking, like remembering this. Like,
yeah, this is unbelievably fucked up, man. I remember, so years ago, I was involved in like local politics. New York has this like progressive party called the Working Families Party, and it's like their little liberal like. And back when I was a good little socialist, I was involved with helping to organize with them, right?
Right.
And one thing we had to do one time is we had to interview a bunch of candidates for local office to decide if they get to be on our ballot line, because New York State has this weird thing where a candidate can be on multiple ballot lines. So you could be both on the Democratic ballot line and on the Working Families ballot line.
Okay.
And that's a few extra votes from union people, basically. And one of the people who came in was a coroner. And before he came in, this guy who's like the head organizer, this old union guy, is like, we need to get I've dealt with this motherfucker before. We need to get him in and out as quickly as possible because he loves his job and he loves to talk about it. And sure enough, this guy sat down and told all of these stories. One thing I remember vividly is him talking about how, like, as one of the like justifications for how important he felt his job is, he was talking about like how essential it was to determine whether someone had died by suicide by hanging or autoerotic asphyxiation, because he said like it actually takes a burden off the families if they find out that their fucking son or whatever died jacking off rather than died by suicide, which to me, like, I'm sitting there thinking like, my God, like, because I've thought about suicide, on and off my whole life. And
we're all here, yeah.
I don't want anyone to think if they find me that I was that I was mid-stroke or whatever. But
What?
no,
That's
it's like-
celebrating life, William, rather than being brought to despair by it. That's celebration. That's champagne
like-
popping, dude.
it brings so much like peace to the families to think their kid died jacking off, because at least then it's a terrible accident and they're not responsible, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, Gigi, I'm kind of far away from your piece here, but I thought of that while you were reading. Man, this is so gruesome and vivid. I love this piece. I love the musings on this is the kind of shit that I love, right? These really dark, funny musings on death and mortality, and you nailed it with this post. It's really
Thank
good.
you.
We've got a really dark night here, don't we? I mean, I know that like this is
Dark. I see what you did there.
tourism. Sorry, what was that, Rudy? I missed it.
I said dark. I see what you did there. That's
But
funny
no,
right
this is-
there. I don't care who you are.
Even by misery tourism standards, this is a pretty this
Yeah,
is a
Michael and I
pretty
will very
bleak
much
one.
align. Yeah.
Oh shit. Anyway, thank
Read
you,
my
man.
blog. Everyone read my blog. I need attention. It's fun to write without thinking that there has to be a finished product and just kind of banging away at the keyboard until you have words on a page. So I'm enjoying doing this thing.
Why
Hell
are you
yeah.
doing like Blogspot instead of Substack? Substack, it's so much easier for me to subscribe and then get your email and then forget to read
don't-
it.
I don't like that. I don't Substack. It seems too connected to other people. Blogspot stuff seems just sort of out there in the ether.
That's fair. That's fair. Very retro.
Retro. I really like the Hotel California use of that. I mean, that was so good.
Dude, it was the weirdest
Really?
fucking thing. This guy there's a dead body on the table with that big V you see on TV
Yeah,
shows.
like the vivisection shit. Yeah.
That the body had that, and they were like done with it and like cleaning it up or whatever to ship it off into a box or whatever the fuck they were gonna do. And he was like, Hotel California was playing, and he's wheeling around the thing in an office chair, like shuffling his feet along, unwrapping Starburst and eating them. I was like,
Oh my god.
what is going on? How are you okay with this? Like,
Oh
I'm not
my-
gonna eat for
That's
days
amazing
after.
imagery and sound. I can hear
Yeah. Holy shit.
It's
I was
fucked.
so grossed out by the Starburst thing.
Yeah, it goes to show that like you interact with something like death often enough and like that intimately so often, like it just becomes
Yeah.
It's like
well,
routine.
whatever.
Yeah.
it's just your job at that point.
Right.
Thanks for letting me read, by the way.
Yeah, man. Thank you for reading. So Grapes is up next, but we don't have anyone after Grapes, and it's only 5 minutes after 9. So would anyone like to read after Grapes? If so, just put something in the chat. Yeah. Anyway, Grapes, it's all yours.
Okay, so I have a few poems. This one is titled I'm the One at the Beach Reading Bukowski. In my shades and pigtail braids, wearing a thong bikini made by my impoverished aunt, looking out toward the crashing waves, thinking of my lover who wanted me to sign an NDA. Miles away from him and my life, I lay here on my beach lounge chair under this umbrella, tanning as I read Love is a Dog from Hell, while I'm all wet from the ocean's waves crashing on my body as I stepped in to be in shallow water and dug my head with ocean water. And I'll read one more. This one I actually just wrote. Okay, so it's titled He Said He Won't Spend New Year's with Me. And that's okay. He just won't be my lover. And like this, my love life is solved. I'd rather have a lover without dentures anyway. I think of the bland time I'll have on New Year's, not dealing with a heroin addict asking me for $20 for his next fix. And it's okay with me to function without the bag of cash from me. New Year's arrives and I pass it doing nothing in my room. I fall asleep again around 8 to wake up around 1 to fall back asleep until whatever o'clock. Thank you.
Grapes, those are great. These are funny. I mean, often your poetry has a little bit of a comic edge to it, but these are so funny. That second poem is vicious. I'd rather have a lover without dentures anyway. That's brutal. And then from there it just gets nastier, right? And it gets nasty in a way that's just so like accurate to the way that like we experience the kind of resentment that follows a breakup, right? And the details are so vivid and so funny. And I love the from the first poem, the my ex who wanted me to sign an NDA. That is so, like that detail pops out in a poem that's full of really rich detail. That detail, like it's like one line that tells a whole story, right? So these are great, Graves. Thank you. And we had Tyler and Coleman sign up while you were reading, so Tyler's next.
All right, so am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. This is a piece that I published a couple of years ago that I owe to my long readership of National Geographic. I was trying to capture the voice there. So this is called Stories of Climate Change, China's War on the Mogwai. Consider the East Asian monsoon. This famous weather pattern, immortalized in the folklore and literature of the East, causes a cycle of heavy seasonal rains. The animal life of southern and eastern Asia have evolved to take advantage of the monsoon, and the area's human inhabitants have incorporated it into their way of life. Like so much else, however, the monsoons are being disrupted by climate change. In recent years, the monsoon season has grown shorter and shorter, with prolonged dry periods in between that more and more often cross over into drought. When the rains do come, they are shorter and more intense than before, causing catastrophic flash floods. This rapid change is devastating animal habitats and imperiling thousands of species across Asia. A notable exception is the mogwai, the semi-intelligent, asexually reproducing Chinese primate familiar to Westerners from the 1984 movie Gremlins. The combination of torrential rains, followed by long periods of drought, is particularly conducive to the mogwai's breeding. The heavy rains cause the animals to reproduce uncontrollably. A single mogwai swept up by a cresting river can blanket the river's entire surface with offspring in a matter of hours. And unlike other animals, mogwai have no need of water except to reproduce, perfectly poising them to survive long dry spells. The resulting mogwai population boom has left large swaths of the countryside infested with the crafty animals. Liu Dong, a farmer in Anhui province, lost everything to the mogwai. They ate all my wheat, seed, stock, everything, Liu reports. Then they jumped on all my chickens and goats. I saw one grab a chicken by the legs and push it into his mouth whole. It withdrew a bare skeleton, let out a long burp, and then sat down with a toothpick. Although many farms have seen similar attacks, the mogwai seem most drawn to cities. They favor human snack foods, particularly after midnight when they metamorphose into their reptilian gremlin form after eating. China's growing middle class, burgeoning nightlife, and increasingly westernized diet leaves them no shortage of options. I have to do pretty good business, says Zhu Jing, a street restaurateur specializing in kebabs. That all changed when 3 of those things showed up. They gobbled up all my kebabs and started throwing the skewers at me like javelins. Fortunately, I was able to skewer 2, grab the last one with my charcoal tongs, and grill them to death. They came into our town last year, says Ma Rong, a software developer who lives in suburban Chengdu. My cousin was going to a party and they brought out the huge cake that they thought a stripper was going to jump out of. But there were a whole bunch of those gremlins inside instead. They sang happy birthday and then they started eating everybody. Since then, we've had to bring the dogs in at night, Ma added. At first, my husband wanted to buy spotlights to keep them out of the yard at night, but I figured that if you get up just before sunrise and throw some food out of the window, or a mannequin dressed as a sexy lady gremlin, you can attract a bunch and kill them when the sun comes up. Indeed, experts estimate that were it not for the fact that sunlight is fatal to the mogwai, mainland China would already be completely overrun. However, the fact that all of China runs on Beijing time works in the gremlin's favor. A mogwai in a western province who transforms into a gremlin just after midnight can enjoy several more dark hours in which to engage in destructive antics. Oh yeah, I see him sometimes in the wee hours, says Kunming nightclub owner Du Jin Lee. They crash the door and yell for liquor, and it's easiest to just give it to them. They'll drink themselves to death if you let them. But I used to book a lot of magic acts. Can't do it anymore. Too tempting. Guy would do a disappearing trick, and they'd pop out unexpectedly and, eat him. If there is a strategic advantage to be had in the fight against the gremlins, it's that they almost never attack anyone in a way that is not darkly comic. They tried a complicated scheme where they removed some floorboards in my office, covered up the hole with a rug, and made faces at me, trying to get me to run in and fall to my death, says Yu Bai, a rural police chief in Jiangxi. I just shot him. In China, the Mogwai has transformed into a potent national symbol for the urgency of climate change a threat. Experts estimate that if even global temperatures stabilize after a 1.5 Celsius increase, the Asian continent could well contain over 30 billion of the furry troublemakers by 2100. Opinions differ on how best to address the menace. International animal advocacy groups have tried to secure political rights for the creatures based on their high intelligence and capacity to understand language. Others have opined that the Mogwai's prodigious reproductive capacity makes them a perfect low-emission food source. They're an agricultural miracle, says Samuel Kent, food scientist at Georgetown University. They reach adult size in seconds. Frankly, we're idiots for not eating them. We could feed the world. Each household could keep one in a cage and just sprinkle some water on it when someone wants a burger. The Mogwai, however, enjoy a privileged legal status as part of the cultural capital of China, similar to the panda, and as yet the government will not allow any research into breeding Mogwai for this purpose. This hasn't stopped enterprising souls such as Zhu Jing, who began selling gremlin kebabs after her aforementioned attack. The right marinade, they taste a lot like duck. It's legal so long as they attack me first, which they're always doing, says Zhu. Her voice drops to a lower register. They know.
Tyler, I fucking love this piece. I love this because, man, I love this style of piece because the global warming, like Richard Attenborough, like faux, like National Geographic documentary fucking framing of this makes every gag in it so much funnier. Like just because like it's like the apparent importance of all of these issues, right? Like these deeply important like socio-political and environmental issues mixed with like the slapstick fucking goofiness of the creatures from Gremlins. It's inspired. It's just inspired because it keeps the slapstick exactly where it needs to be, right? Because I don't know, it's just the perfect like tension between those two poles. I don't know, I was cracking up through the whole thing. And some of the the quotes from the different characters, the guy was like, I just shot him. Like those punchlines are perfect. It's just a really fucking funny, hilarious piece, Tyler. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's see. Coleman's up next, and then John. Hey, Coleman.
Hey, so I'm just gonna do a one poem. This is my it's about one of my first times I went to a like seriously went to a gay bar and trying to get laid. So it's called the Play Club and Bar. The only chunks I didn't barf were my memories. You paid the moon to turn a blind eye. We snorted our coke back home. It wasn't laced with fentanyl. Men are drawn to my blue eyes by trimmed eyebrows. They watch my ass when I walk like Hollywood's cowboy. I am only bisexual. I have an ex-girlfriend. You scream the bears will cleave to us because they sense us move. We are thin and plush. We dance as balloon animals. You drain a lemon drop before we glimpse drag queens. You scream some nights nobody wants to fuck. That's just how it is, no matter how sexy you're dressed. I have sex with a man 2 weeks later. It's spacious enough in the back of his navy blue Subaru, among the dust of 300 boots, tinnies, heels, and sandals. It's raining outside. How was his dick, you ask, over the phone? It was actually clean. We go out for drinks that day. I forget about grad school, how there's nowhere cheap to live. I lose myself, then find me tomorrow, throwing up. And that's it. Thanks, y'all.
Coleman, that fucking man, that fucking rocked, Coleman. I think I'm gonna say shit that's gonna sound a lot like what I said about the last set of poems you wrote, but I'm gonna say it anyway, or that you shared rather. I'm gonna say it anyway. The vividness of your language, the vividness and the efficiency of your language, the way that you capture so perfectly and so beautifully these often very ugly moments in time, right? Without like excessive, like without getting excessive, without getting like needlessly flowery, excuse me, or needlessly like purple in your prose. There's this wonderful, beautiful efficiency in the way you describe these things that's so rich with like with the emotion of those moments, right? And what I love about this one in particular, though, is like the little bit of menace, like that's hidden in the detail, that's hidden in what didn't happen, right? These little moments in the poem where you're like, it wasn't laced with fentanyl, or it was actually clean, where you're revealing a kind of dark expectation, there, and that those moments are really, really strong, I think.
Thank y'all. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for the kind comments. Thank y'all for listening. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Coleman, thank you for sharing. John Padula, Hollywood John is up next.
Johnny
And
Hollywood.
no one is signed up after John, so if anyone wants to read, just put it in the chat. If not, we'll wrap up after that. Sorry, John, it's all yours.
Okay. These ones are from the crypt. This one is a recipe I found on a website, like a quirky little like website for like making food and recipes and ingredients. Bed salad is prepared by taking whatever food you're about to eat and throwing it on your bed, mixing it up with the pillows and sheets. The preferred approach to eating bed salad is to crawl under the covers and gobble up the morsels like Pac-Man. Traditionally, a bed salad is made with solid foods, but a popular variation of the bed salad, bed soup, is made by adding liquids to the bed. Connoisseurs recommend sucking the soup out of the mattress. A bed soup can be as simple as dumping your favorite soup all over your bed, or it can be complex. Taking time to introduce and age flavors, stock, and seasonings on the bed gradually over the course of a week. There is no wrong way to prepare and enjoy a bed salad. With thousands of flavor combinations and techniques, the bed salad is one of this decade's most versatile dishes. Delicious. And then the second one is a letter to Congress, an open letter to Congress. Dear Representative, I don't claim to be a smart man. I don't have a college education, and I don't know too much about politics. I live a simple life. I have a good job, and it's enough to support me and mine, and we're happy. At least we were happy until about last year. I am writing this letter to address a law passed last year, which ended up being the first law in a series of laws that have ended up making my life a living hell. Ever since the government passed the Mandatory Homework Act, my life has been in shambles. Between filling out my multiplication tables and completing my reading assignments, I barely have the time to make it a work, let alone spend time with my family. Before the passing of these laws, I used to look forward to checking my mailbox when I got home. It was always full of cool stuff I bought from Amazon, but now I dread checking it. Every day, right on time, I find a brand new workbook waiting for me to fill out. And I cannot take it. Like I said, I may not have a college education, but I do know when I am being had. I study hard, and I take these assignments very seriously. It is not fair that I have to pay more in taxes just because my algebra score is lower than my neighbors. I'm sure you have your studies that suggest that this homework has some societal benefit, but with all due respect, Congressman, I already passed high school. It is not fair that my taxes are based on how well I do on these, and it is not fair I can be jailed if I fail to turn in 5 or more assignments. I do not want to do any more homework. I have real responsibilities now, like kids and a mortgage, and I simply do not have time to fill out and send back each assignment you send me. I have seen on the news that you and your peers have been encouraging us people to take control of the homework problem in America. I've heard these speeches urging us to stand up for what's right, to say no to more homework, to break the societal norms enforced on us by homework, to fight homework as an institution. I have come to the conclusion that when you speak about people mobilizing, about the people tackling the homework problem we are responsible for, you do not mean it. We are not responsible for all the homework. You are. You're the ones who keep assigning homework. I am tired of being told by you that it is my responsibility to reduce the amount of homework I have when you keep passing laws that increase the amount of homework I have. Please, Congressman, the person I elected to speak on my behalf, please abolish all this homework. I am at my wit's end. No more homework. Sincerely, a tired, angry, and confused citizen.
John, I think I found these two pieces more conceptually upsetting than Gigi's piece about his visit to the morgue. Like that, this is on some level more the thought of somebody, the thoughts of like bed soup and a mandatory homework act. This is like real nightmare shit for me. For the first, I think I'm gonna have to argue. Rudy was like seemed to be in favor of bed salad and bed soup, and I'm gonna have to fight Rudy about that because that is like the most disgusting thing I could imagine.
It's
But
all
oh
it's
my
all about
God.
how it's prepared.
It's only disgusting if your bed is dirty, which
Yeah.
mine is, so fair. But if you don't have a dirty bed, then it's good. It really is.
It also matters the type of mattress. A Tempur-Pedic, memory foam will give you a different flavor than a standard,
That's true.
spring bed.
I think you need the sleep number, right? So you can make the make the thing as firm, or
Yeah.
make the
The stiffer the mattress, the higher the sleep number, the more kind of dense, the higher the flavor you can get into it. Where a softer mattress,
it's like your broth, right? I mean, that's the whole thing.
Exactly.
I am so upset right now. Fuck you guys. Oh my God, the whole mandatory homework act one though. I the fucking, oh my God. I actually clapped at the to fight homework as an institution. I was like, fuck yeah. We have to fight homework as an institution.
I mean, this stuff is ridiculous. Come on. I've had it.
These are literally like nightmares you might have, like actual like things you might see in your sleep and then wake up sweating after, like the existence of a mandatory homework act or having to eat bed salad.
I mean, bed salad sounds like a pleasant dream, but I'd agree the homework stuff does sound kind of bad.
Anyway, thank you, John. I think that's it. last call here for anyone who wants to read. Nope, I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, we'll call the reading there. If you're watching this on YouTube, this has been Misery Loves Company, a weekly reading series. I think I say that at the beginning. Anyway, we do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and join us. Anyone's welcome to read their work. Anyone's welcome to just come and lurk and hang out. Yeah, we tweet out the link from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, usually about a few minutes before we begin. Yeah, anyway, thank you everyone who read tonight. It was a wild ride. It got real dark and then it got real funny. And fuck yeah, thank you everyone. I didn't think anyone would read tonight. I got up this morning and only Rudy was signed up. Well, Stu was signed up too, but he rescheduled. Anyway.
Fucking Stuart Buck.
He says next week. He says next week. I talked to him earlier today. Oh, Ramona's angry because I'm sentimental. I'm a sentimental guy. That's just who I am. What do you want? You want me to be like, yeah, that was fun, guys. Good time. Goodbye. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not gonna be like, I gotta get sentimental about this. This is my one time each week where I get to get a little sentimental, where I get to be a little soft in a different way. It's soft in a different way than I usually am. Anyway, thank you guys. This has been a lot of fun.